Think about the future of mankind. Dear thinkers, in the long river of human thought, Neoplatonism is like a bright and profound star, and the wisdom and thinking it contains still have far-reaching implications for us. From the reflection on Earth Online to the vision of the Metaverse, from the construction of philosophical systems to the discussion of lifestyles, it covers many thought-provoking contents. Then, how did Neoplatonism intertwine human cognition and expectations of the world in the evolution of history? Can the metaverse really integrate the essence of the real world and avoid potential crises as we wish? On the path of pursuing freedom and order, how should we draw on the experience of Neoplatonism to ensure that the metaverse will not repeat the mistakes of the Alexandrian Neoplatonic school? By watching this video, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the mysteries of Neoplatonism, explore the future blueprint of the metaverse, clarify the key points of the integration of philosophical thoughts and real technologies, and think about the infinite possibilities of human thought and technological development together. Let's go. In the long course of human history, we can detect a tendency. Although people have not explicitly expressed it, the root of many questions they raise, whether it is the criticism of society or of human nature, actually stems from the limitations imposed on them by the whole of Earth Online. It's just like when you ask a horseman about his needs, he might say he wants a faster horse, while what he truly desires in his heart is actually a car. The metaverse is like such a car to them. After all, no matter how fast a horse runs, it can hardly achieve the goals in their hearts. Looking back, many social improvement theories or educational improvement theories have already exceeded the limits that Earth Online can bear. For example, when the goal proposed by the horseman is something that a horse can do, or when specific solutions such as adding horse gear and strengthening horse training to increase its speed are given, these measures may work. However, in fact, many social theories expect horses to run faster than cars and have a longer endurance than cars, which is obviously impossible for horses. Because of this, some people are hostile and disappointed with human society or the entire education system, while what they truly seek is actually a car, that is, the metaverse, because horses simply cannot meet their requirements. In this situation, we may be able to create a brand new historiography. The purpose of this historiographical narrative is to explore those thoughts in the entire history of human thought that actually K-Wong cars. Of course, at the current stage, the more valuable thoughts may be those that are committed to making horses run faster, rather than the ideas of trying to make horses achieve what only cars can do. Because studying how to make horses run faster can give birth to various practical and useful theories, such as how to strengthen training, and how to provide better fodder, etc., which can all be put into practice. The latter, that is, expecting horses to reach the level of cars, often leads to many disastrous consequences, such as possibly causing horses to die from overwork. Many tragedies in human society originate from such unrealistic pursuits. Fortunately, it seems that we now begin to have such a new car, although what we can see at present may only be its very primitive version. In Neoplatonism, while retaining Plato's metaphysics and spiritual intuition, combining it with Aristotle's valuable research on the sensible world and the latter's commendable clarity and precision is undoubtedly a meaningful exploration direction. Then, in the metaverse, how can we integrate the excellent elements of our real world as much as possible? For example, when a person obtains a certain relatively pure freedom in the metaverse, can he happily accept this freedom? Or can he still maintain a passion for life as he does in the real world? We may think that monetary incentives are a bit silly. However, after losing this simple and effective means, can people find the jobs they truly want to do? Does everyone definitely have something they love to do? Are we about to enter a world where everyone is addicted to watching short videos, except that short videos have become an entertainment mode in the metaverse? Is this really the future we are looking forward to? Will this purely free metaverse evolve into a Sodom in the real world? If we regulate the metaverse to prevent the emergence of such a Sodom, what kind of regulatory methods should we adopt to avoid the greatest infringement on freedom? Dear thinkers, what do you think of this dilemma? Let's discuss it together in the comment section. After all, on the one hand, Earth Online restricts personal freedom, and on the other hand, it also restricts the freedom of regulating individuals, and both are limited by the underlying code of Earth Online. In the metaverse, individuals can continuously change their entire world, which also means that managers can also frequently change their world. This kind of manipulation and control will be more refined and difficult to prevent compared to today. Take the current Earth Online as an example. TikTok has already changed our political and social ecology. And if the metaverse is not handled properly, it is very likely to become a super enhanced version of TikTok, and people will have no power to resist. Plato would probably think that the Neoplatonists overlooked some core concepts in his own thoughts. Then what important elements of Earth Online will the metaverse lose? At present, since the metaverse is still in its infancy, we cannot conduct in-depth research on this. To some extent, the idea and natural structure of the metaverse are similar to Plato's thoughts, similar to the immaterial concept of the Platonists. Only in the metaverse, matter has stronger plasticity. The real world is a huge material entity, while the parameters that can be changed for matter in Earth Online are extremely limited. In the metaverse, we will redefine the relationship between the concepts of matter and immateriality. Many things that were once regarded as immaterial can now be presented in a material form. We will be able to experience unicorns, witches, and magic in person. In the metaverse, imagination will be our boundary, not the real world. If traditional Platonists need to use imagination as an intermediary when reaching a certain immaterial concept, then in the metaverse, imagination can be directly transformed into matter. In this way, the immaterial concept of traditional Platonists is integrated into the link of imagination, realizing the continuous transformation between the immaterial concept and materiality. In Earth Online, this transformation is almost impossible to achieve, and even if it can be achieved, its efficiency is extremely low. For example, when you have the idea of studying hard and study hard under its guidance and finally achieve good results, this process is the transformation between the immaterial concept and materiality. But its efficiency is very low, and there are few types of transformation available. In ancient times, goodness and beauty were closely connected. Both needed to be understood through concepts such as order and understandable structure, and also with the help of virtues, with examples of courage and self-discipline. In Platonism, goodness and beauty are highly related and need to be understood by means of a certain order and understandable structure. Many of the underlying codes in Earth Online can only be speculated and are difficult to construct directly. However, for the metaverse, it is constructed by human-written codes, and its interpretability, even if there are some black box parts, is far stronger than that of Earth Online. The generative AI model can be regarded as the creation model of the metaverse. In such a world, goodness and beauty can naturally be understood and explained. In Neoplatonism, in the hierarchical system of the universe, God is the highest reality, followed by the reality of celestial bodies. In the next level, one can find the ethereal reality similar to Aristotle's fifth element, as well as demons, and the lowest level is composed of humans and animals. One is material, perceptible, temporary, and constantly changing. The other is immaterial, understandable, eternal, and unchanging. The latter is regarded as the true reality that explains the former, while the former is actually just an imitation of the latter. There is no doubt that there is a constantly changing material world. In Earth Online, The problem lies precisely in that the changes are not fast enough and not as one wishes. In the metaverse, the changes in the material world will be greatly accelerated. On the other hand, regarding that immaterial, understandable, eternal, and unchanging world, it may be understood as an individual's thought space. Due to the uniqueness of each person's own experience, some eternal and unchanging ideas and thoughts will be formed, and these can enter a certain category of immateriality. That is to say, the process of an individual interacting with the immaterial world is actually a process of being one with oneself. And in the process of each person becoming one with his own metaverse world, a unique worldview will be generated. For the first time, we will be able to see a worldview that is truly formed based on his own life experiences, rather than relying on external interventions. In this case, what are the key issues and key nodes in forming a worldview? This has become a very important prerequisite theoretical issue in the construction of the metaverse. I will later list several key questions that need to be answered to form a worldview. After answering these key questions, a new worldview can be generated. It is like the periodic table of elements of a worldview or a philosophical theory. Of course, such a periodic table of elements will also face the situation of being infinitely divisible. How many key questions are needed to generate a worldview? How many possibilities are there for the answers to these key questions? This may be infinite. It is a simulation of modern magic and different people and different worldviews, and it is an endless task. I will not limit it at the beginning, nor will I determine a set of key questions that need to be answered at the beginning. Instead, I will continuously revise it. I will continue to update this series of the philosophical periodic table of elements. Welcome to follow my channel. When facing ontological dilemmas, Neoplatonism often assumes new entities in a path-dependent manner to resolve the dilemmas. On the other hand, it also hopes to achieve extreme simplification and tries to reduce everything to a first principle. Although the process of simplification involves many steps and requires the assistance of many hypothesized material entities. In this hierarchical system, the higher the level, the stronger the unity and goodness it shows. And conversely, at the lower levels of the ladder of reality, there is an increasing diversity, complexity, and defectiveness. When a person first enters the metaverse space, he may be intoxicated by the frequent jumps between different materials. At this time, his material world is diverse, complex, and defective. As he continuously explores different material worlds, he will eventually gradually clarify what the material world he really wants is. Or even if it is not out of subjective needs, his material world will also gradually stabilize. Because in this process, his own immaterial concepts continuously interact with the material world, making the relationship between himself and the world continuously stable. In the metaverse, the material world that gradually stabilizes itself has an essential connection with the human soul. The complexity of thinking must match the complexity of existence. Therefore, reality is essentially spiritual or understandable. That is, it has a clear organization and can be understood by reason, and is essentially ideological in a certain sense. Neoplatonism not only distinguishes the levels of metaphysics, but also distinguishes the levels of human experience and thought. A person, especially his or her experience and cognition, forms a hierarchical system, and its main vein corresponds to the core characteristics of the hierarchical system existing in the universe. The metaverse can naturally meet such needs. The struggle for the continuation of life and existence that we witness in nature, as well as the efforts made by humans towards unified agency and different kinds of perfection, are all manifestations of the more general struggle made by the generated and lower levels towards their sources and origins, and finally towards the absolute unity at the top of the hierarchical structure. The creation of the universe and its entities also convey psychological concepts. For example, creation is contemplative because the created always turns to contemplate its origin. This return or reversal to the first principle is indispensable and distinctive for Neoplatonist thought. Postmodernism breaks up the spiritual struggle history with only a few processes and procedures established in Neoplatonism into a flat plane, on which the spirit can never ascend, but can only repeat the same set of games continuously. It is just like love under the domination of postmodern thought, highly modular and routine, like an industrial product produced on an assembly line. Metamodernism is committed to overcoming both. On the one hand, it recognizes a certain individual uniqueness, and this uniqueness is not only at the theoretical level. Instead, because there is a metaverse, a world tailored for each person, it can truly realize the recognition of individual uniqueness by the world. Under the previous technological level, it was difficult to put forward truly meta-modern thoughts, and now we are in the embryonic state of such thoughts. While recognizing individual uniqueness, metamodernism can also re-establish the human spirit and keep moving towards a higher goal. To achieve the former, it is necessary to ensure that the world survival model is truly serving each individual and that there is no advertising or ideological propaganda of managers mixed in it. Otherwise, the control of this advertising over the human spirit will far exceed the current situation. This requires a series of economic and social designs to ensure that the world generation model can truly serve all mankind. And to achieve the re-establishment of the human spirit and keep moving towards the eternal and lofty goal, what work do we need to do? It is most ideal to ensure both the absolute freedom of individuals and that individuals can automatically pursue the eternal and lofty goal under such freedom. Just as we are not sure whether people will still have jobs they truly love after canceling the monetary incentive mechanism, we are also not sure whether people will automatically pursue the eternal and lofty goal in their dreams after obtaining absolute freedom. We hope for the former, which will make things much simpler. If it is the latter, what measures should we take? Welcome to Think Together in the comment section. Neoplatonism belongs to the philosophical branch called philosophy as a way of life, which was a special way of understanding the role of philosophy commonly seen in ancient times. Besides doctrines and philosophical systems, there also exists an ideal and goal of living in a philosophical way. Philosophy is regarded as something that has a direct impact on the chosen lifestyle. I have seen many introductory philosophy books trying to narrow down the definition of philosophy in the first chapter, confining it to the highly abstract work of professional knowledge. This is to facilitate the subsequent abstract discussion, which is also understandable. However, if we follow the usage habits of the word philosophy in daily life, to this extent, the definition of philosophy may be more in line with the definition of Neoplatonism. Neoplatonism is a philosophy as a way of life. It will directly affect the lifestyle you choose. Or more accurately, the ideological theory that can determine what lifestyle you choose can be called Neoplatonist philosophy. Under this definition, metamodern thought is such a thought. It is closely related to each person and is not a pretentious popular philosophy. Removing abstract language does not necessarily make it a popular philosophy. That may lose the most essential part of philosophy. The popular philosophy that metamodernism wants to achieve means that every short video we watch daily and every daily action can be elevated to a certain philosophical level again. And it is not achieved through an abstract way, but is transformed into something similar to a programming language that guides the world generation model. Only in this way can the profound thoughts be truly integrated into everyone's daily life. People do not need to come into contact with highly abstract content, nor do they need to de-abstract it to expand the audience. The latter often has the opposite effect. Instead, these things that are highly abstracted through language should be re-refined into a content that can be mastered by machines and let the machines translate it into the underlying logic of world production. Just as people will automatically enter a certain nihilistic state by constantly watching short videos, regardless of what the content is, without learning abstract content, they can know what nihilism is. Instead, they can directly understand it through this structured world survival model. The metamodern world generation model can make you produce any emotional structure. So we must ensure that such a world survival model serves each individual separately. The Greek school of Platonism emphasizes the healing of the soul to some extent. This kind of healing is different from our current psychological analysis. Psychological analysis itself has highly capitalist characteristics. Its purpose is to make you better integrate into the social environment, while the root cause of your psychological diseases is the social environment. It tries to completely eliminate your reflective emotions about the social environment. In this case, the substitute for psychological treatment may be painkillers. That is to say, the need for psychological healing stems from the excessive dependence on Earth Online. For a long time to come, we will be in the transition stage between Earth Online and the Metaverse. During this stage, the mechanical work during the day will make you have the need for soul healing, and at night you will enter the Metaverse for healing. At this time, the competing product of the Metaverse should be mobile phones and computers, which can completely fail to achieve the purpose of human freedom and liberation that we expect it to achieve. We also expect that at some point, through the continuous interaction of technology and capital structure, capitalism will finally be able to dissolve itself. At that time, the purpose of the Metaverse will shift from soul healing to soul unity. However, after losing the continuous power provided by Earth Online, can the entire Metaverse itself promote the continuous development of human spirit? Or will it be like those internet-addicted teenagers who are eager for the internet when playing online games are prohibited, but lose interest when they are really allowed to play? How many of us are internet-addicted teenagers? It is still too early to answer these questions now. In addition, in Platonism, the introverted contemplation that finally ends with non-conceptual unity and beatific experience is not understood as being mainly otherworldly. On the contrary, the contemplative practice and the higher-level experiences it may bring are considered to bring practical wisdom, happiness, and even social reform. In metamodernism, ethics and morality will become the intermediary for self-awareness. In this case, everyone will become a saint, because everyone is in a state of conforming to their own morality or reflecting on their own morality. There are only these two possibilities. It is not like in Earth Online, where there are many people who are always excluded by social morality. In the most ideal situation, each person can achieve major changes in the whole society as long as they fully exert their natural freedom. Especially, a practice called theurgy is becoming increasingly important. In its original Neoplatonist meaning, theurgy refers to the process of making a person worthy of becoming a god or being similar to a god, and thus belongs to the long tradition of becoming like a god in ancient philosophy. Since the apex of the metaphysical hierarchy exceeds the scope of conceptualization and intellectual understanding, it has become a convention to invoke other practices to reach this apex. Prayer and ritual magic began to be practiced in parallel with philosophy. In fact, they are regarded as the only ways to reach the highest level of existence and experience. Theurgy makes Neoplatonism an attractive target for the study of religion, mysticism, religious practice, and meditation experience. It is recommended to start studying philosophy from moral purification. People think that one should be familiar with Pythagoras' Golden Verses or Epictetus's Handbook for this purpose. After reaching a sufficient level of moral self-control, the next step is to study Aristotle. Students of the Neoplatonic school around the 4th century AD initially needed to start studying philosophy from moral evolution. However, in the Metaverse, Since morality itself will become a medium for self-awareness, he may not need to go through such a prerequisite process. Here, it doesn't mean that we should follow some practices of the Neoplatonic school. In fact, the distinctions between the Neoplatonic school, the Middle Platonist school, and the Early Platonist school are quite large. We just get some inspiration from them, not identify with certain school-related things, nor do we want to get involved in some religious debates. My current focus of work and theoretical stance make me quite optimistic about the metaverse as a whole. This optimism doesn't mean that I have some overly optimistic expectations. Instead, it means that it is most effective to maintain a certain degree of optimism about it now, because it hasn't happened yet. It is beneficial to be optimistic about things that haven't happened. As for Earth Online, my attitude is cautious rather than dismissive. But to a large extent, my ultimate goal may still be to reveal that the internal structure of Earth Online is inconsistent or has problems. Then I will start to supplement or replace it with the metaverse approach. This is not a research method that presupposes the result. Instead, I need to be honest with everyone about my current theoretical tendency. And this theoretical tendency actually comes from my emotional inclination. It is beyond my own control. But I need to maintain this honesty with everyone. That is, where my biases lie. But only biases can produce academic achievements. Even it can be said that only when there are biases will people speak up. Every scholar researching the metaverse in the world is naturally a believer of Earth Online. At least at our current stage, all people have spent most of their time living in Earth Online. However, since logical terms and logical education endow all philosophical undertakings with precision and clarity, and since Aristotle also used logical terms when writing about ethical issues, logic is chosen as the best starting point for individual research. When thinking about the metaverse, you don't need to, like traditional philosophical workers, first study a large amount of introductory logic and then start thinking. Thinking about the metaverse is more like online literature. Every comment posted and every like given are, in a sense, forms of thinking. And for example, thinking like giving a like will be recorded by the world generation model similar to YouTube's AI. The internet is the embryonic form of the metaverse era. In the traditional Neoplatonist teaching process, once a student reaches a certain level of clarity in thinking and argumentation, he will be introduced to the divine Plato, and Plato's works will be studied in a certain order. Neoplatonists don't insist that Plato's works should present a view of development in chronological order. So, for example, they don't consider some dialogues to be early, Socratic, or mature. Instead, they form their own curriculum system. One doesn't need to learn disciplines or philosophical thoughts in a certain order. One doesn't need to first undergo moral evolution like Neoplatonists, and then study logic. When your entire logic learning enables the student to reach a certain level of clarity in thinking and argumentation, then introduce him to the divine Plato, and then study Plato's works in a certain order. In fact, it doesn't need to be like this. It actually believes more in something like a roulette. You can continuously jump between its several training items. And if this kind of jumping is in the metaverse, it may not even need you to decide by yourself. It's like when you click on a short video. Or even for a more selective long video, when you click on a certain long video, you don't need to bear too much pressure of decision-making. You will continuously and autonomously click on the next video. Of course, it was completely understandable to conduct such learning in ancient times. Even our current university education basically follows such an orderly way, because its educational resources are very limited, and it is a one-to-many approach. The one-to-many approach inevitably requires you to coordinate educational time with the teacher, and if you want to form a certain institutionalization, you must keep learning knowledge in a certain order, and in fact, these will slow down your own efficiency. Artificial intelligence will become your exclusive teacher, and the internet will provide you with one-on-one knowledge. When postmodern terms have been integrated into our daily expressions and certain network buzzwords, it is difficult for us to distinguish the doctrinal influences and similarities from the more superficial term, connections and borrowings. The dilemma we encounter is actually wanting to recognize the diversity of thoughts, as well as their non-uniqueness and their dependence on individual personal experiences. This situation will lead to extreme diversification of thoughts. And limited by my own comprehension ability, the thoughts I can comprehend are very limited. I can only put forward a very framework-like thing, and this framework is not the same as the previous systematic philosophy. Because thoughts are highly dependent on individual personal experiences, according to my personal experience, I can't put forward all-encompassing thoughts. These two are inherently contradictory. And if each thought's high binding with personal experience makes it very special, then it is endless. And it has no boundaries and no endpoints. What can we actually do in such a situation? And the negation of the premise that personal thoughts are highly bound to personal experiences, that is, the idea that thoughts have the ability to transcend individuals. Should this view be regarded as an opposing view to the former, or is it also a small subset of the former view? On the other hand, under the condition of determining that personal thoughts are highly bound to personal emotions, can we put forward a more universal thought? Even if this thought doesn't work for everyone, can it relatively expand the phenomena it can explain? How should the contradiction between these be resolved? These are the two major problems we are currently facing. Neoplatonists tried to organize different disciplines using a certain hierarchical order, and the discipline division at that time was already carried out according to the research objects and research methods. To some extent, I think they were influenced by the inertial thinking of the educational system at that time. They wanted to arrange everything in a certain order. After canceling this order, they might be able to participate in the exploration of reality in a more free way. And under this kind of disorderly arrangement, a natural sense of beauty will finally be shown. The way the Creator creates the world is not so orderly, but it has a unique aesthetic feeling. That is to say, a way of constantly making a way through mountains and building bridges over waters is the real way to be one with the Creator. In this sense, I am contradictory. On the one hand, I hope you recognize the limitations of the real world. On the other hand, I hope you don't think that the real world is the embodiment of all evil. In the Metaverse, theory and practice are naturally unified. According to Neoplatonists, mere theoretical activities are not enough to liberate and save the soul from the secular and corporeal dilemmas. Actions such as magic rituals are still needed. If this kind of magic ritual is replaced with a certain kind of action in a sense, and only then can the transformation of spirit and soul be achieved. Then in the Metaverse, you will naturally practice after learning a certain theory. Just imagine the difference between university education and looking for game strategies when playing games. University education requires you to first study for 4 years and accumulate a lot of basic knowledge before you can practice. While looking for game strategies when playing games, you can almost immediately put into practice once you find the strategies. And electronic games are the elementary form of the Metaverse. At present, the Metaverse cannot be directly studied, or many of its technologies are not yet mature. But for electronic games, especially open-world electronic games, we can conduct a lot of exploration. And it already has some relatively mature theoretical results that can be applied, whether it is the economics of electronic games, or its social impact, or its philosophical analysis, or its spiritual analysis. I will also update a series of videos later. It can be said that electronic games are a very important topic for me. Studying electronic games is the basis for studying the future lifestyle of mankind. If you are interested in this topic, please subscribe to my channel. Long before the paradigm shift and during the shift, the themes and methods of Neoplatonism had already been incorporated into new ways of thinking. In the development process of the Metaverse, we can also draw lessons from the rise and fall of Neoplatonism. The Metaverse, as a new concept and field, like the evolution of ancient philosophical thoughts, needs to continuously explore and integrate various elements to construct a system that is both profound and innovative. It cannot be limited to the existing technologies and thinking patterns. Instead, it should be like Neoplatonism's attempt to integrate different doctrines, integrating the excellent culture, ethics and moral, philosophical thinking, etc. of the real world into it. For example, the social interaction in the metaverse can draw on the ethical norms of interpersonal communication in the real world to avoid falling into disorder and chaos. Its content creation and knowledge dissemination can refer to the way Neoplatonism studies and inherits classic works, through orderly guidance and diverse interpretations, allowing users to obtain more valuable spiritual nourishment in the metaverse. At the same time, the metaverse should also be vigilant against possible ideological solidification and paradigm limitations, just like the Alexandrian Neoplatonic school finally declined. It should always maintain an open and innovative posture, continuously adapt to the development of the times and the changes in users' needs, so that it can continue to develop and play a positive role in the long river of human thought and technology. The previous discipline division was mainly based on research objects and research methods. And the metaverse is undoubtedly a new research object, but its exclusive research methods have not yet been born. I don't expect the research methods of the metaverse to be simply a patchwork of past academic methods. Instead, I hope it can integrate with the latest artificial intelligence technologies and native internet technologies to achieve true innovation, not just transforming traditional academic journal publications into internet publications and replacing writing papers with making videos. If you have any good ideas about this, please share them in the comment section. As the gate of the metaverse slowly opens, Neoplatonism is like an ancient and bright lighthouse, illuminating the way forward for us, but also casting a shadow of thought. We stand at this crossroads of virtual and real integration, full of longing and awe for the unknown. The metaverse is a grand jigsaw puzzle of human dreams. Each piece contains infinite possibilities, waiting for us to carefully piece together. Will it become a haven for the soul, allowing us to pursue the ultimate of freedom and dreams in it? Or will it be like a runaway horse, taking us into an uncontrollable, chaotic realm? This is not only a challenge for technology, but also a profound interrogation of human nature, ethics, and wisdom. Let us explore in the profound wisdom of Neoplatonism and gallop in the vast, starry sky of the metaverse. May you continue to bravely move forward in this journey full of miracles and puzzles with reverence for philosophy and expectation for the future, to write your own legend and define this brand new era. Whether the road ahead is full of flowers or thorns, the steps of thinking should not stop. Because only by continuous exploration can we find the eternal island of truth in the surging waves of human thought and technological development. Well, dear thinkers, as you can see, this is the content of the second video I made about thinking about the metaverse and the future of mankind through Neoplatonism. If you feel that the video content is abstract and obscure, it is because of the lack of some background knowledge. Please click on the upcoming video to watch. Let's think about the future of mankind together.
Let which see who hasn't subscribed yet. Oh dear, I will punish you to endure the pain of eternal freedom.